BrandZeye is a media analytics business that claims to be one of the few companies that correctly predicted the Brexit vote using Twitter data. They used a similar approach during the recent municipal elections. CEO JP Kloppers is here in studio to give us some insight. JP, thank you very much for coming into our studio.
Thanks,
of course, the local government elections that we had recently were some surprising results, I guess, for the ruling party, particularly in some key metros. Now, you guys reckon if they had sort of heeded a lot of the conversations on Twitter, Facebook, other social media, they wouldn't have been in for such, I guess, nasty surprises. Would you like to explain that?
Yeah, I think they maybe would have seen it coming. I'm not sure if they would have been able to do much to change it, if I'm honest, because how people feel, particularly when it comes to a vote, there's quite a long lead time to being able to influence that. And what we saw was just the kind of raw emotions of people being expressed on social media in the run-up to the vote. And similarly to Brexit, I think people, when they're talking about stuff on social media, one of the key sort of differences to a poll is you're not being asked a question, you're just putting your opinion out there because you want to share it. So social media is beautiful in that it's that kind of raw emotion, but its beauty is its difficulty, because that's hard to harness and to capture and to try and assimilate in large quantities, and that's kind of where the technology comes to play. But I think what we saw in the municipal election was very much that, hang on, this isn't going to go quite the way the political parties thought. I don't know if the DA knew it was going to go that way or if the EFF did, but certainly I think the ANC got a bit of a nasty surprise when the results came out.
We'll talk about the Brexit prediction that you guys got right a bit later, but just sticking with the elections, I mean, how do you guys do your analytics? How do you capture this data, and how sort of consistent are people's opinions and I guess sometimes trolling with their vote?
So we use a combination of people and machine learning to try and figure out the nuance. And that's the trick with, or the problem with social media, is somebody can, they're sarcastic or they're trolling or they're swearing and you're not sure are they happy or not about the thing that they're swearing about. And we saw a lot of that in the elections, both in Brexit and here. And so trying to make sense of that, a person can read a tweet and say, oh yeah, this guy's just having a go at them. He's not serious about that opinion. But for computers to do that is hard. And to do these kinds of analytics, you need computers to understand the big data. But unless that's fueled by kind of micro bits of data you trust, just the big numbers don't make sense. And so if you're trying to do analytics on social data at a macro level, like in an election, you really need to have those micro points that you can trust. So we take out of the, I think there were 130,000 people in this election, in the municipal election, that we're talking about various components. And so we take a representative sample of that and actually pass it through the human part of our technology, so that we can get down to the nitty-gritty of how do people actually feel about this political party in this geographical region.
And then converted into actual percentages, and how accurate were those numbers with the final voter numbers?
So not as accurate as Brexit was. I think the UK has got a far more representative population on social media, if you're kind of representing the normal population. In South Africa, our social media population is still skewed to the online segment, which isn't representative of the whole population. So while I think it was as good as the polls, in coming out at accurate levels, what we could see was the coalition scenarios emerging way before. So we could see the ANC dropping as low as 35% of kind of share of voice, if you like. They never dropped that low actually in any of the metros. But social media is almost like an accentuated indicator of what really happens, particularly in South Africa. And so I think the part that, and particularly the black Twitter part, which people underestimate, is how influential that is. So I think where somebody's vote previously, or even their opinion, was informed by their social circles, which was typically either a family or a small community or a village, now we're seeing other voices being able to enter into that kind of trusted circle, and that's typically via social media. So somebody will see, hang on, it's okay to betray the ANC and have an affinity towards the EFF because I see other friends or people like me doing that in other areas. And so I think it accelerates what would naturally happen over a longer period, social media is accelerating that process.
JP, what does social media tell us about, from what you've observed in your line of work, what does it tell us about voter behavior that the polls can't?
I think it gives us the why. So the polls will tell you 45% of people are going to be voting for party A, 15% of people for party B. Where there's a big delta, so if that's shifted by quite substantially from last time, you don't know why. So there's a lot of speculation in a poll, why has it moved? And so then you go onto the streets and you ask people, you know, you said you were going to vote A and now you're voting B, tell us why. What social media gives you, it gives you the kind of macro quantitative stats, but all of the underlying data is there. So you can just kind of ring fence this group of people in Tshwane who are speaking favorably about the ANC and answer the question why. Why do they love you? Why do they hate you? And I think that's the power of the kind of social media verbatim is allows people in political parties in an election or brands trying to increase their market share. It helps them quickly understand the why, and that's been kind of a missing element of the more traditional forms of research.